recording.
Okay, so today is March 21st, 2015. This is our second interview with the Diary of a Walk-In. This is the week that has just ended with the spring equinox yesterday, the supermoon, the total eclipse, and the 7th of the Pluto-Uranus squares that began in 2012. So it's a really big deal this week, and that's where we're at right now. So we're continuing our interview from before, and did you say you had a question?
No, keep going. Go ahead.
All right, well, one thing that I talked about on the last one, which I kind of didn't have a reference for, but I was referring to Columbus Day weekend, if you remember. That was when my experience began, and in 1993. And I was trying to say that Columbus Day weekend was special not just because of, for me, that was my anniversary on the walk-in experience, but also because it turns out there is a very large story that goes back a long, long time, and I have many notes here, so I'm going to try to just sum this all up, though, and how that Columbus Day weekend is relevant. We were talking also about the photon belt, and just to elaborate more on the photon belt, I was saying, is a 2,000 band of photons, which are light particles that NASA has been aware of since 1961, that we finally entered in full in December of 2012 when the Mayan calendar predicted. And that photon belt is actually a donut-shaped band that goes perpendicular to the way our solar system rotates, and it surrounds the center of our galaxy, which is the Pleiades, which is their lead star, their brightest star, which is Alcyon. So that is always, they are always in that photon belt, the Pleiades, and we are circling around them. They actually say our sun is like Pluto in their orbiting system, the way Pluto is to us as the ninth planet out from us, except we're the 8th sun in the Pleiades revolving system, orbiting system. So we are in the Pleiadian system as a solar system. Our sun is. And so every time we go around the Pleiades, which is the center of our galaxy, it takes 26,000 years. Every 2,000 years is a new zodiac sign, represents the new age that we're in, Piscean, Aries. You know, we just left the Piscean, now we're in the Aquarian age, and we enter this photon belt for 2,000 years on one end as we're circling around out of 10,000 years of darkness. We become 2,000 years in light, and then we actually circle back out of it 10,000 years again, where we go away from light and knowledge and intelligence and back into darkness, and then another 2,000 years at the other side of this donut that's on the other end. So this is a story that has been repeating, but what was significant about this past 2012 entry into the photon belt was it actually completed two other larger cycles. One was, and this is where you have to bear with me, I have some notes just to get it right. But one was, I believe, a 104,000 year cycle, and another one was a 225,000 year cycle, which had to do with their rotating around another larger system also. And basically, in the past, they can prove this in glaciers. Every time we've entered the null zone, which is the entry to the photon belt, we've had all kinds of chaos and things happening. It's kind of like entering our atmosphere. If you're in a space rocket and the rocket ship, you know, enters a very tumultuous time with temperature extremes and things where it can disintegrate or fall apart because of until it enters our atmosphere and things calm back down. There's a null zone in the photon belt as well okay, I found these cycles just to go back to that. 104,000 year cycle it completed, and also a 225 million year cycle. A 225 million year cycle is what the 2012 representation was. So that's why it's so gigantic this time. So as I was saying, with the null zone in the past, that's why we've had all those Armageddon predictions where there were earthquakes and new ice ages every time, and they can prove this in the glaciers with the electromagnetic disturbances that photon belt caused each time. It really did short circuit our planet. And in the other interview, I was referring to how food can clean you out so that you don't short circuit with this high wave of high frequency energy. But what they're saying happened differently this time is that we actually hit a critical mass of people who were in a higher frequency. We were more than 50%, 51% or greater of a critical mass, and that enabled the planet to be able to go through this photon belt without the same level of damage that it has in the past. And this is what Nostradamus was referring to when he was trying to warn people. This is what Jesus was trying to warn people about, preparing for, was actually this entry into the photon belt. So it is a very big deal, but we did complete what we needed to in order to enter it without any damage. So that's what's different about this time. One thing that I also wanted to refer to was there's been a lot of efforts where other planets have been waiting for the Earth to actually evolve into a higher dimension, and we're the last one that has not. We're the one that's still stuck in the third dimension, while other planets are already ready to go into the fifth dimension. As a solar system, they've been waiting for us to reach the level that we were able to enter that as well. And they gave us a 500-year window where they said we would have 500 years to try to complete this in time to go into it with the rest of our solar system. And this began the year that Columbus discovered America, in 1492. Columbus Day weekend, 1492, is when our last 500-year window began for being able to make this transition with the rest of our solar system. So in 1992, that was the 500-year anniversary of that last 500-year window. And my experience as a walk-in occurred the following year, Columbus Day weekend, 1993. So I have come to the understanding that the Pleiadians say they entered our solar system in the 90s, and that's about when it happened, at that same time. And that's the same time those other little G gods left our solar system and our planet, and that's when the big switchover happened. So that is where we are beginning a new level on the planet Earth, and where they're saying that even though we don't physically see these signs occurring in our physical world, the physical level, the physical plane is the last plane that can show the signs. It's already occurred in the other higher levels, but the physical planet is the last level where it looks like things are still really, really bad, but actually it's just the last level where things have to change. So what they're saying now, though, to update all of this, is that in order to help shift the planet into this higher 5D frequency, people need to start going and exploring the internal worlds that the shamanic warriors talk about, referring to journeying, soul journeying on an internal level. And the more people that start doing that through whatever practice you can, that's going to speed things up. And the other thing that they just recently told me 2 days ago, actually, this is something I was going to tell you happened 2 days ago. I was doing because of the equinox and everything that happened this week, there was a group meditation happening yesterday. And And part of the meditation was that we all had to travel from Earth to our home planets. And in the meditation, we went back to our home planets, and while we were there, we did all this healing and blessing on a universal level. And then the woman was like, okay, now everybody go back to Earth, time to go back through the wormhole to Earth. And for me, I was having a very hard time doing that. I didn't want to return, and I kept saying, I'm not going, I'm done with what I needed to do on Earth, and someone else can take over from here. I've already done everything I needed to do. And every time she kept saying, okay, now stamp your feet, we're back on Earth, get back on Earth. And for me, the wormhole just kept getting longer and farther away, and Earth was just getting smaller and smaller, and I did not want to return to Earth. So all of a sudden, though, somebody had these intentions calling in, for what we wanted to visualize the future, and someone mentioned the animals, and we did briefly talk about the animals last time, and they had an intention that the animals would be protected and blessed and helped and aided, and as I mentioned before, they're the last level of slavery and torture. Seriously, I mean, there's things going on still with women in other countries, but overall, the animals are still the one area. Even the person sending out the intention was trying to say prayers for the homeless animals, for fur, the ones that are skinned alive, the ones that are abused by homeowners, the ones that wildlife that's becoming extinct, all kinds of situations with animals, but never once mentioned the factory farmed animals. And that is my most passionate sore point that I can't even discuss, because I just don't know what can be done about it. It's worldwide. It's the one area people, all the animal activists, a lot of them, they will be active for all kinds of other wildlife situations, but they ignore the factory farmed animals as being one of the most horrendous tortured situations. So while I was not willing to come back to Earth, and this wormhole was just getting farther and farther away from me, because every time she said return, I extended it and I kept pushing it away. Then this person with the animal phone call called in, and they made it very clear to me that I would be leaving behind all these animals that were the factory farms specifically, that were still in such dire need of assistance, crying out tortured screams, and I would be leaving them behind and not taking care of what part of my mission was to do. So even though I did not want to return, I was shown all these animals on the Earth, and we tried to put a net around them to kind of capture them and encapsulate them the way like a tumor does in your own body to protect you from cancer. But ultimately, I had to return for these animals. And that's what they told me is the last thing that's missing, that hasn't been completed yet. And this is why Earth is still being held back, specifically because of these factory farmed animals. They say that it is necessary to transform these tortured factory farmed animals and greatly reduce eating them to speed up the healing of the planet, and that it's necessary. If you want heaven on Earth and you want Earth to go to the 5D world, we have just got to stop eating these animals, and that's the only way the factory farms are going to stop mass producing them. And I just personally don't know how that can possibly happen on a personal level. So, but I came back for that, and so that's related to my final mission, and I have no idea how that's going to happen, but that was the experience I just went through, and I was just like, to be honest, I was like, shit, we've still got this one last thing. It's not about the humans anymore. The humans are fine, they're on their way, but these animals are still entrapped, enslaved, and need to be freed somehow. And this is what is holding Earth back right now. So I just want you to know, any ideas that you have, I'm open. And they will probably assist me and give me some other form of what they want me to do. I just have no idea. How can you transform a whole planet from eating animals? I have no idea. So that's where I'm at.
But, I mean, they're still going to kill off all the humans anyway, right?
Well, not all of them. I mean, the humans are, there's definitely humans, and you can picture them. They will never say, I'm going to stop eating meat. They will never believe this, so it's never going to happen. I mean, I'm very realistic about that. But, so you know what I said? Actually, I said to the Earth, you have to do it. You have to do your upheaval thing and do it now. I mean, what are we waiting for? We're done with this experience, so you're the only one who can do it. This is what I came to the conclusion. It has to come from the Earth. There's no other way you're going to get the masses to stop eating factory farmed animals. Even saying they're going to get cancer and diseases and superbugs and
Yeah, that's become the norm.
they don't care about their own health. And it's not about their own health anymore. This is now about how to save a victim, which is the animals. And the only conclusion I came to is the Earth itself has to. And I don't know what we're waiting for anymore at this point. But that has to be resolved. They're saying that bridge between our third dimension and the fifth dimension is just not going to happen until this issue with factory farmed animals gets resolved.
All right, so if it doesn't happen, we all get to live, though, right?
You mean like will life just continue on?
That's my question.
That's why I'm saying, like, shit, I have to go back there and do something about this. In this area, I've been aware of this for the whole 25 years, whatever, but if you really felt the pain of these animals, you can't even go there because there's nothing you can do to help them. So you just have to block it. And even the people who are really sensitive to animals, who hate, I tried to show video clips and things in years past, and they refused to watch them. Because if they knew, they say if they really knew, they would not be able to eat them. But they just don't want to. No.
Yeah, but when you're late for work and McDonald's is right there, you know, sometimes you need a cheeseburger, don't you? I mean, really?
See, I gave up, I did used to eat McDonald's. I gave that up in 1991, and I can remember this when I started chewing on gristle in the cheeseburger.
Yeah, the GMO is...
The gristle, and I was just like, okay, that's it. I'm done with McDonald's. I'm just saying, I don't really think there's an answer to this. So that's where I'm at, though. I would not have returned. I would not have returned, but I had to. And then I remembered, oh, right, this is why I volunteered.
Okay, so let's supposing, you know, the animals are not tortured anymore, and...
You know what, that's the future, and that's what I was trying to say before. When we're studying past lives, like they're trying to say now, get all your past lives together so you can understand why you're the way you are today, travel internally, soul travel, to go to your past lives. But now what they're saying is travel into your future lives. We all have future lives as well. It is not linear. And they're saying things like when the African Americans were freed from slavery and given voting rights and all those things Martin Luther King fought for. Those were actually because of people coming back from the future, from the worlds where that wasn't an issue, where people were equal, they were treated fairly. They were coming from the future and saying, this doesn't exist in the future. That's where the ideas came from. And this is another one of those ideas. In the future, people don't eat animals like this. They don't just abuse them. They're not insensitive to them, and you know, not having a connection, understanding where your food is coming from, a living being that is not volunteering itself, that is creating such terrible karma on the earth. The worst karma left to clear is these factory farmed animals. And I don't know, as I said, what can possibly be done other than the earth itself throwing everybody off of it and swallowing them up. I don't know. I'm not saying I have an answer, but that's where we're at. That's what's holding us back right now. We
So,
can't-
so why do we want to go to the fifth dimension?
Some people don't. Some people are happy with their lives here. Some people are at a slower pace. They're not experiencing anything pulling them up to higher dimensions. But you can take your time and stay in the lower dimensions as long as you want. There is no such thing as time in reality. We only have time on the 3D Earth. In real life, everything's eternal. Take as long as you want. It's for those who want to leave, like myself. We're ready to get the show on the road.
And what's your incentive to leave? Why leave?
Well, they say when you travel to other places, like when I go to my home planets, the memories are often erased. What happens during the night, all the connections that you do during the night where you go back to your real life while you're sleeping. What remains of that is the heart memory. You remember the feelings. You don't remember the visions.
Keep going. Just talk louder. It'll be over in a minute.
We're in a park, in case you haven't noticed. There's a train going by. But no, you remember your heart and your soul remember your emotions and your feelings. And the pull is enormously gigantic, that this is not home, this is not the fun life, this is the life people don't want to volunteer to live. I mean, that's all I can tell you. We know there's so much greater than this, so much greater than this.
And what does that look or smell like?
Well, where people aren't eating animals, they're not torturing them. There's not this insane traffic pollution, noise pollution. Getting healthy food and clean water is not an effort. It's not overcrowded.
Yeah, but can't you go to
Things are grown organically.
the eastern part
Nothing
of
is
Russia
hurting
and get
the
them?
planet, and you have connections like the Native Americans used to have, and the original indigenous people, many still have, where nature speaks to you. You're one. You're not separate, like we believe here. That's why nobody cares about destroying lots. Where people are still clearing land for their houses, and there's plenty of houses that are available they could buy and fix, but they'd rather just take down more trees and build a brand new one. So in the real world, in the future, you would work with nature. Your houses would be anything that was not destroying nature is always the priority. Always the priority. Here, it's what we do. So.
Well, it feeds the system here.
But you know what? Most people want to move in the cities. They want to live in cement and buildings and traffic and noise. I don't know how to explain.
It's where the jobs are.
But
yeah.
they like it. They thrive on it.
Yeah, some do.
So that's a different type of a human also.
How's that? What do you mean it's a different type of human?
Well, that's one of the clues is, do you need nature around you? Do you thrive in nature, or do you hate nature?
What do you mean one of the clues for what?
For if you're starting to become aware of the higher dimensions, because in the higher dimensions, nature is the prize. Nature is the prize. Here, there's people who hate camping. They hate being outside of their air-conditioned homes. They'd rather be in sterile environments with their antibacterial soap, which is doing nothing but destroying your own immune system using antibacterial soap. Your skin is your first defense in your immune system with the good bacteria that live on the surface of your skin. When you kill them with the antibacterial soap, then you've got no defense. Anything can enter through the skin. you know, there's just so much complaining to do, but what were your questions? Yeah, I don't want to rant and rave about all the things that are negative. Didn't you have some questions last
I do.
time?
What's the point of the video?
Well, I guess, you know, for a long time they're always saying walk-ins are not supposed to tell anybody that they're walk-ins. They have to remain anonymous or it blows the whole cover. And that was true for all these years. But now they're saying, you know, walk-ins revealing themselves is the first level of helping to bridge the introductions to those who want to come introduce themselves as well.
All right, so how's that work? Somebody can come up to you and say, how do I do this?
What do you mean?
You just said...
I'm talking about...
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about going to the fifth dimension. Nobody really knows how to do that, and that I'm aware of. And so, yeah, how's that work? Do I come to you and say, where are the crib notes? I mean...
No, but like we just went to an Eckankar seminar, workshop, and that is one way. And this is definitely not for everybody. It's for the cream of the crop, the people who are ready. People are not all ready at the same time. But bringing those people up who are ready is going to bring the people up below them, and there's that chain reaction, and that's how things start getting lifted up. You can't start with the lower level people and expect them to do anything, but they say don't wait for anybody else to come with you. Enter the doorway by yourself. Go through the fifth dimensional portals first and show the people behind you how to do it. And
So why haven't you done that? Why haven't you gone to the fifth dimensional portal, come back and said, okay, this is how you do it?
well, this is what I do every night. Believe me, bedtime is my favorite time of the day. So that's what I'm saying. They said, no, you're not done. You can't just abandon this whole project and leave. You still got this one last piece, which I guess there's two pieces. One is doing that traveling in the physical body. Is what they're saying. You don't have to wait to physically leave the earth. You can start doing it through meditation, which I'd rather just do it the easy way, by going to sleep at night and not having any effort. But I guess that's part of the showing other people how to do it, is to do it while you're awake, to travel more while you're awake. And there's definitely separations of levels of humans. Again, this is nowhere near for everybody. I would say 90% of the people, to me, are nowhere near ready for this.
So, but in the last video, I think we talked about the upheaval of the Earth, and the Earth is going to go through all that. And then you mentioned that there's, on that side where you're from, there's, I don't know, a couple different camps of beliefs where the only answer was to get rid of all the humans.
It's still one of the answers, but to me, you know, I was like, come on, we're ready, we're done. But they showed me this 2 days ago, and it's just an area I didn't think there's anything I could do anything about. So that must be to come in a later video, because it just happened yesterday. So I don't have the answers for that yet. But they'll give them to me, or else, you know, this can't go on where I have no answer for that. But part of it is getting the word out, but I don't expect anybody to change. I have very low expectations for humanity. It's not my plan. I'm just somebody who's being
So where did
used.
the humans go wrong?
Well, again, you know, in the very beginning, okay, there is the story. In the very beginning, humans were manipulated. And this, I'm just going to have to sort through this. I have
What do you
all
mean we were manipulated? You already know.
papers here that,
We were manipulated how?
all right, well, we'd have to, All right, here's one thing. The Earth was originally designed to have just 4 billion souls on it, evolving here at any one time, both in and out of embodiment. And what happened was the Earth volunteered to take on a bunch of what they're calling laggard souls who were never going to evolve and whose only other choice would have been to just disappear and evaporate back into the central sun, which would be a failure on their part. So,
A failure on their part or a failure on who created them?
no, a failure on their evolution. They would have ceased to exist,
Right.
which means, not even any other opportunity to return to graduate as a soul. They would just be obliterated.
All right, let me just ask you, let's get back to this. So you've got how many, what's the right number of people that are supposed to be on the Earth? 4 billion?
4 billion.
Okay, and there's like 9 billion now, right?
Yeah.
All right, so you've got 4 billion people, but those 4 billion people are still destroying the planet. They're still killing animals and they're still polluting the water and the air and the food.
I know, they actually say there's only 3% that are vegetarian.
Okay, so you got,
very little.
yeah. So it didn't matter if it's 4 billion or if it's 9 billion in a sense because they're all doing it anyway. So the answer would be to get rid of people then, wouldn't it?
Well, once you have a higher frequency and a higher vibration level, you would have more consciousness about what you were doing instead of living unconsciously without conscious of what you're destroying and how it's affecting other living beings, even plants. We're pretty much living unconsciously on the planet without awareness. So,
Okay. But here's the thing. Something created us. These beings, I guess, created us. Why didn't they make us right to begin with? How is it us to evolve? I mean, supposing I make a toy for your son, I'm going to make the toy that functions, it's fun, and doesn't hurt him. Wouldn't they have given us a higher consciousness from the beginning? Why do we have to evolve to it or not evolve to it?
well, that's the game of God. There's actually a book called The Game of God. And it's a cartoon book. Where God was bored. He wanted companionship. So he split himself up into little tiny pieces. And the game was to have those pieces lose consciousness and then return back to full consciousness as each lifetime, each experience continued, mastering the one before.
It's an entertaining game for God, but it doesn't seem real like fun for anybody else. I mean, it just seems like, what's the point? Doesn't it?
It's not fun. It's not fun. That's for sure. It is not fun.
I mean, I've heard this argument in different ways, and one of the ways that was described to me was we love the process of awakening so much, we just do it over and over again. And there is nothing to learn, and there's nothing to evolve into. It's just this process we like to do over and over again. So it's not even God's game, it's our game. We just like and enjoy it.
The only way I could say people think it's fun is after they leave here and then they get to review their life. And then they're like, oh yeah, now I remember what I was supposed to do. Send me back. And then they go back with amnesia once again, and they try to fix it the next time they go back.
But if you have
blindly.
no reference when you're there, it just seems pointless to me. It's like, how am I ever supposed to advance unless I know where I'm coming from? I mean, it's basic navigation.
You know what? That's why now they're saying you have to go research your past lives and figure out why you act the way you do.
Yeah, but they're only saying that to you. I didn't hear them.
No. Well, this is the new message, I guess. This is not just for me. No, that's what they're saying, to speed people up instead of waiting till you die and then reviewing all your past lives and how it related to this lifetime. They're saying now do it while you're still here.
So do the past lives or do the future lives?
Well, both.
Which one's
for
more
me,
important?
I'm interested in the future lives, but they are saying.
But why do the past lives at all then?
because for people to understand the lessons they were trying to learn while they were here, so they don't have to die and then go, oh, now I see what, oh yeah, right, that, I shouldn't have done that. Oh yeah, right, yeah. Send me back. They immediately want to come back. When they die, they want to come right back. And then they have a waiting line usually, and they have to wait till there's bodies where there's opportunity. You know, some people wait a long, long time. Some people do come back pretty quickly. But as difficult as it is here, as soon as they die and they understand the big picture, they want to come right back. Because they know the prize is evolving. They know the prize. That's why there's a reward.
But that's the thing. I mean,
and
why?
Coming to Earth is one of the hardest things you can do. So that's why people want to even come here as souls.
Why is there a
Because they know if
prize?
they come here, they can immediately graduate many levels instead of having an easy life where you're wealthy, you've got servants, you've got everything at your fingertips, no hardships, no heartache, nothing. You hardly advance at all in a life like that. You have to have the hard knock lessons, the lesson of hard knocks. And then, if you volunteer for really bad stuff, you know, you get rewarded for it. Sometimes, though, it is your old karma, and that's what they're trying to say, is find out, which is it? Is this something you wanted to do or something you're repaying? And travel now. There's ways to travel. Go on YouTube. Ekankar, as I said, has a whole, it's a science, tools. So they teach you. Do a shamanic journeying class. Find out how you can start traveling now. You don't have to wait till you die anymore. And you never had to, but we just didn't know. More and more people are finding out how to do this. I personally am not an expert at this yet, but this is what they want me to work on now. So that's what I'll be working on now. Anything else? All right, we're gonna end it right there. So 2 things. Start traveling now to your past lives. Get hypnotized. If you don't want to do it yourself, find a past life regressionist. Or go to the future. Find out what you're bringing back to this time. Time is not linear. It's all at the same time. We have dimensional lives. We have many at the same time. You can go to any one. Just jump across and find out the connections. And then the other thing is, as much as possible, try to educate people on not eating factory farmed animals. But good luck with that. All right, let's end that.